Hello, welcome to this edition of Digital Badge Academy's podcast. I'm Jim Daniels here with David Leeser. And David, we are going to cover a bit of a different topic today. So why don't you introduce folks to what we're going to talk about?
Yeah, for 2025, we created a new course on Udemy that covers everything you need to do to get started with developing a high-powered digital badge program. So, Jim, why don't I just open it up and why don't we just take a look at it and you can maybe walk us through the sections if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I'll
So,
start on our website. Let's just start here, but basically on the website, digitalbadgeacademy.com, there's a little bit of a description.
yeah, exactly. And there's quite a bit of content that's associated with this training, and it's broken down into five key sections, and each of those key sections actually align to our practice that we utilize when we're working and consulting with clients to take them through the five phases of designing and implementing a digital badging program. So the training is laid out in exactly the same way. It's about 5.5 hours of content in total. And if you want to scroll down, you can actually here on the screen. Well,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
we can look at it. Yeah,
Okay.
let's just yeah, we can look at it this way. So the training, the new training that we have is actually hosted through Udemy. So that just makes it easier for anyone that's interested in taking the training to be able to sign up, to make payment, that sort of thing. And that's the other key thing to anyone that is somewhat familiar with our previous master class that we've had available. It was priced at a considerably higher price point, and we've decided to pull that way down and really to make this accessible to anyone that's interested in learning about what it takes to implement a digital badging program.
So it covers all the what you'll learn in this course, and like you said, Jim, it literally, if somebody can spend a day or maybe even 2 days, because the topics are pretty robust and comprehensive, and it is 5.5 hours of content. So you could finish it in a day, but it might be a good idea to finish it in a weekend or in your evenings or a couple hours a day, whatever it happens to be. But it's broken down, like you said, really nicely. Let's walk down through the content here a little bit, if that's okay.
Yeah. So again, just like our the practice that we utilize when we're consulting with clients, the training is laid out in exactly the same way. So it starts with setting the foundation, and we have that broken down into two specific lessons. One, which is just defining digital badges and how they work, right? So we're starting out really at the most basic level. So there's no experience needed. You don't have to know anything about digital credentialing to start this course. We start you at ground zero, but then
Yeah,
we
you can do a
quickly,
preview too. Should I show the preview real
yeah,
quick?
sure, absolutely,
So here's kind of what it looks like. You get the format, um, and I'll just kind of fast forward a little bit, maybe if that makes sense. Oh, there you go. So, it talks about, like you said, it starts with the very basics, right? On what defining, believe it or not, I think it's a good primer to be able to define what is a digital badge, what's a digital credential. How does this all play together? Because sometimes there's a little bit of ambiguity on what a badge actually is.
well, exactly, exactly. And what we've tried to do with this training is keep it very practical, right? We want to focus on what is going to really matter to someone who's trying to implement a digital badging program. And perhaps it's for the benefit of employees within your organization or students within your institution, whichever it may be. The emphasis is on creating a digital credentialing program that has value, has meaning, and really matters, and satisfies those objectives across the three key stakeholders, right? Which would be obviously the credential earner, the badge earner, but also the issuer of those badges, as well as anyone who might be consuming those badges. It might be a student that is leaving college or what have you, or some other learning platform or institution, taking those badges and being able to utilize them as part of their job search. And so we think about consumers in that context as being like the HR and the talent management folks within a business that might be looking at candidates for an open job.
So that's the preview that's available on Udemy. Anybody can take a look at that to see the opening 20 minutes. And then each one of them has questions. Like you said, there's a true false questions that are included in everyone to really make sure that you understand the concepts of each one of the topics.
Right, exactly. And it's again, they each have true false questions, and it's there to just reinforce the process of learning. You can take and retake these quizzes at the end of each lesson as many times as you want. So it's important for everyone to understand that it's there to just reinforce the learning. And then, of course, to your point earlier that you made, as far as how much time to set aside, one of the benefits of this is we have this broken down into 5 sections. And within each section, there are individual lessons. So the way I would recommend approaching this you know, is just tackle one section a day, right? So if you look at setting the foundation, that's a total of about 45 minutes worth of learning. And I think just about anyone could probably find time to set aside. If you come at it that way, I think you'll get a lot more value from it. But as we scroll through, you'll see we have the second section here is getting buy-in and managing change. And we have
Yeah, and that
four.
one really, I think that,
Mhm.
I think this is really important. I don't know anybody who has put that into a course where you're really defining the business value of badges and getting the buy-in, what you need to do to build the business case. And and, we've seen from experience that most people don't know how to articulate the value of what they're proposing. And this is not badges just for badges' sake. This is badges for real business or organizational value. And a lot of people don't know how to build a business case around there or how to describe it to get people excited. Because like I said, we've learned from experience. If you go in and say, "Hey, well, we want to start a badge program," it, so what? Why do you want to do that, right?
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, it's the last thing in the world that you want is for to design and build a badging program and launch it and have it come off as feeling like a mandate, right? And I've seen that happen. And so the emphasis here is on making sure everyone, all stakeholders, really see the value and, to your point, get excited about what's coming and once it's launched to be involved with it.
Yeah, and there's organizational change management that's often overlooked. And without that, your chances of success are dramatically diminished unless you have key stakeholder buy-in before you even, start the program. This will help you get that buy-in.
Yeah, exactly. And in addition to the video-based learning content that you're going through here, there's a number of references to external sources that complement the learning content that we've created. There are even templates, a few templates and assets that you can download and use that correspond to each of these different lessons. From a template standpoint, it's not our full suite of templates that we have available in a separate package, which is it's well over 30 different templates that we make available. But you do get a subset of that template pack when you go through this training.
So let's talk about the next section then. It's the structure of
Yeah,
badges.
exactly. So we spend quite a bit of time covering things related to building out an operational framework, um, designing your governance model that's going to wrap around this whole program and ensure that it maintains value and that it's received well and that you have some checks and balances and it doesn't get out of control. Or the term that I've heard a number of clients of ours use is, badges gone wild. You don't want those kinds of things to happen. But so we place a lot of emphasis on badge program structure. And that's probably where we get most of the questions that come our way anyhow, right? As we're even in just general conversation and passing with people that are interested in just having a conversation with us to get our perspective on what it takes to build a badge program. So,
Yeah, here again, I think this is another thing that is unique to this course is this has been fire tested with literally dozens or hundreds of organizations on how to build an organizational, model, everything from the operational framework to the governance, what should be governed and what should be given out to the business units or the different departments. What are the elements of that framework? And then
mhm.
then the team to manage it. How many people do you need on your team? And what should the roles be on the team? I mean, the roles is more important than the number of people because a person might be able to do multiple roles. I mean, when we were starting the program at IBM, it was literally just the two of us developing that program. So, this will show you very crisply and clearly how to get started, what kind of resources you're going to need, and then you'll be able to go to your leadership teams if you need to, and say, based on what I learned in this course, this is what I'm going to need.
Yeah, yeah, and that's important. You said something there that I think needs to be emphasized, and that is it's not about how many people you need. It's about what the people that are associated with this need to be responsible for. The fact of the matter is, it doesn't take many people to look after a digital badging program. I mean, and I'm talking high impact badging programs. We know that. And that's one of the things that we do is we've brought our knowledge and our experience um, to this master class to help people understand how to go about putting those responsibilities in place and where those responsibilities can actually sit. And you can build a program that runs really efficiently. Doesn't take a lot of people, and we show you how to do that.
So the next section is really getting into the. So now you've gotten the buy-in, you've given the business rationale, the justification for it. You have a deep understanding of all the terms and everything about the program, the technologies you need, and everything else. Now it's time to say, how do we get this thing set up? Again, a lot of people are focused on, just the physical badge design, but there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah, exactly. And while we do go into things like badge visual design, and it's important, right? We also look at other things like, if you're going to use one of the commercially available platforms, which is something that we've always recommended, it's definitely the smarter direction to go in. I've always felt like, we show you how to go about that process of evaluating what's available, right? So to ensure that you make the best selection for what your needs and requirements are going to be. We talk about things like the self-service portal design. This is a way to drive efficiency around the program, and have resources available 24/7 for the benefit of the issuers. Like if you're a large enterprise and you have multiple badging initiatives happening in parallel with one another, it means that you have multiple issuers. You might have a pretty diverse audience in terms of earners. How do you serve their needs, concerns, and wants? And a self-server portal is a really good way to go about that. We cover things like data privacy, really important, especially if you're issuing badges cross-border, right? From an international standpoint, you really have to, and even, like here in the US as an example, the difference between say California and Texas, there are certain specific things in California that you have to be aware of. We go into those details as well. And then also, and this is something that I've never seen anyone else cover, but it's can be really valuable. And that's looking at the opportunity to strike up partnerships and alliances as it relates to your digital badging program. That's something, David, that you and I did back at IBM. Hugely successful. It's a great way to expand your footprint, perhaps through a business partner program that may exist within your organization. It could be, third party certification organizations, trade organizations, whatever it may be. There's all sorts of
Colleges,
opportunities.
right?
Yeah,
Universities.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, education institutions. All these things are things that you and I are familiar with, and we share that insight as part of this course.
Back to that portal design, we found when we did a study that found that by putting information into a portal or into a community, you can reduce your calls by dramatically. In fact, for every piece of information you put into that portal, typically you'll answer seven people's questions in a large organization, which is pretty remarkable. You think
Yeah,
about that to be able to cut from, seven calls or inquiries or emails down to one is pretty dramatic. So
yeah,
yeah.
that's a great point. And again, if you really want to have a smooth running credentialing program, it's really important to have that kind of a resource in place. It's not anything that you have to, go off and make some big investment in or anything like that. It can be really basic, but it's just putting information out there that's readily available that is going to address those common needs and issues that may arise.
And then we get into the setting the stage for success, which is the final lecture or series of lectures.
Yeah, and here what we look at is, now that you've designed your program, you know what you want it to be in service of, you've chosen your platform, you've got everything ready to go, you've incorporated, the kind of branding that you want to have into the visual design language of your program. All those things are done. Now it's time to flip the switch, turn it on, and and put it into production. But that's not all. Once it's in production, you also have to have a strategy for how you're going to be communicating the fact that, hey, we've launched this program, but not just at launch. Communication from a planning standpoint, it has to that there has to be a constant cadence of communication. That's a never ending thing. So, and then there has to be measurements and analytics that you're focused on. How are you going to know if your program is delivering the value that you identified as part of the objectives and the KPIs and all these things that you hammered out earlier on in the process? So we show you how to go about that. Some of the really common kinds of measurements of success that you should incorporate into your program. Um, Making sure that it remains aligned to learning and development initiatives, because learning and development initiatives are going to be constantly in flux, which in turn means that your badge program has to be agile and has to evolve and has to adjust to things that are going on there. So we go through all of those and we break it down into a whole list of the kinds of activities that you're going to be focused on when you go live with your program, and then all of the ongoing kinds of activities that you need to be paying attention to once it is in production.
This really almost reads like an outline for getting the business justification for your badge program in the first place. So, going through this course, even before you start to launch a badge program, before you've even made a decision to do it, would be a good idea. And the reason is because it'll give you the structure to be able to put together your pitch, your presentation, be able to say,
Absolutely.
what is a badge and what is a credential? Why should we do it? How are we going to do it? What are the resources that are needed to make it happen? And then how are we going to, implement it and then measure the success of it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you and I have been down this road, and we know all the points along that pathway where you're likely to get called out and asked the hard questions about what it is that you're doing. Why are we doing this? Who's it going to benefit? How are we going to communicate to this new program to the organization? What are the risks involved in this, and how are you going to mitigate those risks? All of these things, and that's exactly how this whole training, this whole master class is kind of laid out. So you're exactly right. I mean, this in and of itself, if you put it in front of certain stakeholders, can address a lot of those questions and concerns, the hard questions that those individuals will have.
And it's real world scenarios. I mean, this has been fire tested with literally hundreds of business units and organizations. to make sure that it works. Every single literally lecture or course or question on this thing has been asked in one of those organizations.
Yeah, yeah. And this didn't, just the format of this, the content that's included within this master class didn't just, pop out of the woodwork overnight. This is a collection of insights, of knowledge, of expertise that's been 10 years in the making, right? That we've wrapped around this and incorporated into the master class. And that's really important, I think, to point out because I don't know of anything else really that's out there that covers this topic quite the way we do, because we're coming at it from a practitioner standpoint and covering it in a very practical way based on a lot of lessons learned, um, and experience that we've gained, building and looking after credentialing programs ourselves, and then also building and looking after or helping other clients look after their programs.
And I think organizations that are starting, especially in the L&D space, and also, in the well, also in higher ed and other groups, they're really starting to look at how do we become more data driven on the way we do business. And again, implementing a program just for a program's sake doesn't really make it anymore. If it's not aligned to the Monday morning problems that the organization has, it's going to have a difficult time surviving. Most people are cutting programs that don't align to the real business needs. This will show you exactly how to align your program to produce real results for your organization.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Um, I've seen businesses out there that have launched programs and didn't have the right strategy in place, and I've seen their programs go stale and ultimately die on the vine, simply because they weren't prepared to keep the program relevant over time. And that is a key piece of what we cover is what are the key things that you have to be paying attention to make sure that your program doesn't lose value. And then, if, in fact, that it actually increases value. We even go into, over the long haul, how to continue to expand your program in ways that bring in more innovation to it and more value into it. So, the I think the takeaway there is you don't have to boil the ocean, right out of the gate with building a badging program. In fact, I would highly suggest you don't try that, right? But we show you how to continually improve and expand and build out your program so that it can deliver even greater value, downstream.
So the place to get started, go to Digital Badge Academy, and you'll find on the homepage a link to a number of different resources. A fast start workshop that we have that gets you up and running in a matter of weeks, and that's perfect for teams that are building an L&D team or a team around digital credentials, coaching and consulting. Oh, by the way, we include consulting with the course too, right?
Yes, yes. Anyone that purchases the course, all you have to do is just reach out to us. In fact, if you click on Learn More, I believe it'll take you to a form that you can fill out, and you can schedule a free 1 hour discovery meeting. So we do provide this at no cost, and actually, you don't even need to purchase the course to get this free 1 hour discovery meeting. But definitely, if you purchase the course, we'll provide you with some valuable coaching and consulting time as part of that effort.
And down at the bottom, of course, the templates, like you said, a couple templates are included with the course. It's not the complete kit, but it is some of the most important ones are in that course.
Yeah, absolutely. Like for instance, just as an example, there's an entire workbook that we provide as it relates to change management, with a lot of forms and things that you can fill out. It kind of takes you A to Z through the thought process of how to go about addressing that need within your business, within your organization or institution. And there's a whole workbook that's included that you can download there, and other key templates, in certain parts of the master class that we also provide. But if you get past the master class and actually get to a point of wanting to take that step forward and start implementing a program, we do make this expanded set of templates available, which could be really useful.
Again, go to digitalbadgeacademy.com to get started, hit the Learn More button. It'll take you over to the Udemy site, and you can preview the course absolutely free.
That sounds great. Thank you very much.
Are you ready to take your organization to the next level? Book a free, no obligation 1-hour coaching session with Digital Badge Academy. Discover how digital badges can help with upskilling and reskilling your workforce, enhancing employee engagement, and even boosting your organization's brand. Use the link shown here to book your free session today.